Dinosaurs lived 65 million years ago. What is left of them is fossilized in the rocks, and it is in the rock that real scientists make real discoveries. Now, what John Hammond and InGen did at Jurassic Park is create genetically engineered theme park monsters, nothing more and nothing less.
Are you saying that you wouldn't want to get onto Isla Sorna and study them if you had the chance?
No force on earth or heaven could get me on that island.
Welcome back to another episode of Front Row Cinema, a movie podcast for movie lovers by movie lovers. I am your host, TJ and with me, as always, is famed paleontologist Dr. James O'Reilly.
Buddy, have we got some bad news for Dr. Alan Grant?
Yes, we do. Each week, we run down a movie from my 1,000 movies in theaters, and we see how well it's aged, along with the hype surrounding the film, its box office analysis, and legacy in the film industry. And boy, howdy, do we have a movie tonight. It is our first sequel that we're doing here on the podcast. Jim, what are we watching?
We're watching Jurassic Park III.
That is right. We are watching the 2001 sci-fi action film. It is so funny when you think about that it's technically a science fiction movie, but like when someone says sci-fi to me, I instantly think space, but it's like, oh no, it's dinosaurs.
Yeah, there is science and there is fiction. I think it qualifies.
That's There is a lot of fiction to go with that science.
Just a smidge, not
Just
too much.
just a skosh. It's Jurassic Park 3 was directed by Joe Johnston and stars Sam Neill, William H. Macy, and Tia Leone. Surprisingly, Jim, this movie was written by Alexander Payne and Jim Taylor, which is a duo that has written movies that you don't normally would associate to them doing Jurassic Park 3. They wrote movies like Sideways, About Schmidt, The Descendants. Alexander Payne is also a pretty acclaimed director. He has a movie that is up for award season right now with The Holdovers. So just absolutely baffling that these two were chosen to write Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah, Alexander Payne has written some really clever, incisive movies. Didn't he do Election? Isn't that
Yes.
one of his first movies?
Yes, he did. He also did Election.
Yeah. That's pretty
Well,
wild that he wrote this movie.
yeah, that they just brought the two of them on to do a rewrite on this movie, and I don't feel them on the page or on the screen anywhere watching this.
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit. And
I
even
mean,
we
maybe a little bit. There is some like dry sarcasm throughout that I could see, but it's
possibly,
real. I'm really stretching to get there.
yeah, you're really stretching it to pull one that out. We don't have a DVD flap jacket to turn to, unfortunately, this week. I have a steelbook for this movie, and unfortunately, with our steelbooks, they don't have great blurbs on the back, so there's nothing to go off of. We had to turn to IMDb for the plot description. But before I had my plot description, Jim, I think you said a much better plot description for Jurassic Park 3 this week.
Yeah, I think I may have solved your DVD flap jacket problem
Okay.
because this movie is about
Dinosaurs.
Yeah, yeah,
period end of story.
yeah, in a one-word plot, this movie is about dinosaurs. Thank you, Arnold Schwarzenegger. But funnily enough, when I turned to the IMDb plot description for this movie, Jim, it is just as insane as Arnold Schwarzenegger's plot description. So listen to what
All right,
IMDb
let's hear it.
said the plot for this movie was. A decidedly odd couple with ulterior motives convince Dr. Grant to go to Isla Sorna for a holiday, but their unexpected landing startles the island's new inhabitants. What? What?
Yeah, wait a second. That makes it sound like they're like, wow, like
Like
the
first,
dinosaurs are startled by them landing the plane. Is
yeah,
that what they're saying?
no, I have so much to unpack in every sentence of that. Like a decidedly odd couple. What the fuck does that even mean?
I mean, I was with them so far. Taya Leone and William H. Macy are weird in this movie.
Yeah, but like, I just feel like such an easier description is a divorced couple. why be like a decidedly odd couple? It's like, what are you try? Why are you trying to hide? It's just weird.
Yeah, they are decidedly odd though.
I mean, they
Like
are, but it's just such a when you're trying to give a concise log line. If somebody started a log line with me with a decidedly odd couple, I would be like, "Oh, I'm stopping you right now. Like, I'm done."
after having watched the movie, I think it's the perfect description, but if I had never seen the movie, I don't know if I would know what the hell they were talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, like, I like how they're like they convinced him to go on a holiday. It was like, what? No, they
Yeah,
didn't.
did they mentioned Alan Grant, right? In that log line? It seemed like he
Yeah.
got lost in there for me.
Yeah, I just I don't know. It was so weird. And then then like I looked at the Wikipedia for Jurassic Park 3 and their log line much more concise, one sentence. A divorced couple trick Alan Grant into helping them find their son who has gone missing on Isla Sorna. Bam.
Yeah, wow.
Like
That's much better.
like so much more concise
Yeah,
than every
very direct.
yeah, very direct. You're in and out, which is exactly what this movie is. This movie's very direct. It's in and out. So why the most insane plot description? They made this movie into like a mystery thriller, IMDb.
It's the IMDb one's not even what the movie's about.
That's what I'm
It's
saying. It's so absurd. Like their unexpected landing. Like, no, they very much expected to land. Like,
well, the second one was unexpected anyway.
well, yeah, that one. But startles the island's new inhabitants. It's like one, I'm pretty sure the dinosaurs have been there for a while. They're not new.
Yeah, and they seem to take it in stride. I don't know that I would say they were startled, more so than they were just doing what dinosaurs do.
Too, yeah, right. Very hilarious log line this week. So I guess it almost helped that the DVD cover didn't have a good flap jacket because that's gold right there. Like we would never would have got that sweet little bit if we didn't
Yeah,
go to IMDb for it.
that's amazing. I want to find out who wrote that and shake their hand. It's so good.
Yeah, right. I got to send an email to IMDb and be like, who did you have plot line Jurassic Park 3 for you guys? Because that guy, get him in a Hollywood boardroom immediately.
Yeah, I can't get over that decidedly odd, dude. I'm trying to think
Like,
like how much different decidedly odd is in 2024 than it was in 2000 and what are we in 2001?
yeah, 2001 here. Oh yeah, no, the decidedly odd couple in 2024, if you remade Jurassic Park 3, looks wildly different.
They'd have to be so much weirder than like William H. Macy and Tay Leone are weird, but they just I'm trying to think what their conversations would even sound like in the 2024 version. I don't know.
I don't know. Can't even begin to comprehend on that one. So we won't. We're just going to turn back time back to 2001, a simpler time. Well, July 2001 was at least a simpler time. And look back on our memories of these movies. Jim, did you see
Oh
Jurassic
yeah.
Park 3 in theaters?
I did. This was another one where I went when I was on vacation. I went with my dad to go see Jurassic Park 3.
So I'm seeing every July was a big O'Reilly trip.
Um, maybe not every July, but Armageddon and this one definitely were years where it happened.
Do you remember enjoying it back then? Were you a fan?
Uh, no, I hated this movie back then.
Oh man, yeah. So it
Um,
didn't help because I remember for our first episode doing the Lost World, you didn't even see that one in theaters because your brothers were not about it. And now we are for the third one, and you did go see it in theaters, and you're still not about it. Were you? Was did this validate your brothers? We were like, see, it's what I told you.
no, I think I had seen both of the other ones by this point.
Yeah.
Um, and I it didn't really validate my opinion one way or the other. I just thought it was a trash movie. I just really didn't like it when I was a kid.
It's fair. That's fair. Yeah, this was another one that Big Rob took me and Zach to. And I don't remember particularly liking it either. This was a huge step down from the previous ones, which were some of, my favorite movies of all time as a kid. The first one obviously still is, the second one less so, but still an enjoyable one. But yeah, I
Yeah, I
remember
mean,
I yeah,
no, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I also remember being extremely disappointed by this movie.
Yeah, you said something in there. It was so forgettable, dude. I barely remember anything that happened in it from when I first saw it in theaters,
Yeah.
and I probably hadn't seen it again until we did the episode for this for the Lost World way back when in episode 1. And I watched both of them at that point. But yeah, the only thing I could have told you about it before this was
Alan.
And that seems to be the one thread in that movie that has followed it decades after is just the absolutely insane dream scenario where Alan Grant pictures a velociraptor speaking his name to him, which is
yeah, so,
so insane. And
yeah.
that was pitched, it was okayed, it was created, and at no point was anyone like, we might get made fun of for this. Like, this might not go the way we think it's gonna go.
It somehow feels like better now than it did then, but back then it seemed like the corniest thing I'd ever seen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's insane. It's so insane, and it cracks me up. Yeah, the thing that I remember the most from this, obviously, is that, but is surprisingly was the video game tie-in for this. I played. I don't remember if you played a lot of Jurassic Park video games when we were kids, but the Jurassic Park 3 had an arcade game that was all over the place back when we were kids in like the Nathans and the Dave and Buster's type places when we were
Yeah, I
kids.
remember. I remember the game. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I used to play that all the time. I remember after that movie came out, and that was about the best thing that I can say for Jurassic Park 3 was, hey, put out a pretty solid arcade game.
I was always more of a Time Crisis guy.
Ooh, Time Crisis was another good one. What a lost relic of time the arcade hangout is.
Yeah, they still have like barcades and stuff these days, but it used to be so cool going to the movies and just playing like a round of Time Crisis to kill some time. You know what I mean?
Time Crisis to kill some time, Jim.
Oh yeah, it was quite the crisis.
Oh,
Oh
yeah, I remember they used to
Jesus.
have that one in our theater that we used to go to when we were kids. They had that. And then I think after a while, didn't they get like a Guitar Hero there too? I think. Yeah,
Eventually, yeah.
eventually. They had a couple of games out there. Um, but yeah, so the arcade game was the most that I remembered from as a kid, which is not a great sign for your movie. Is if the thing I remember the most about your movie is that you had a video game, not a great sign.
Yeah, it was your like shoot 'em up arcade game that was at like that Dave and Buster's. Yeah, not great.
Yeah,
That's
not great.
I don't remember about that about any other movie actually.
Not great. Yeah, and that ends up being a theme with this movie of not greatness is just absolutely diminishing returns. And you can look at the box office revenue here to totally show that this movie was starting to really run on steam. So, Jim, as always, cue it up. Let's dive into some box office numbers.
Numbers, dates, numbers, numbers, dates, array, dates, numbers. Show me the money.
All right, so this is a bit of a weird one because it opens on July 18th. That's a Wednesday.
Okay.
So we're going to end up with a 5-day total here. And when we get to it, I'm going to think about what we should do with the 3 versus the 5-day total. But so it opens on July 18th, Wednesday, to just a shade over 19 million. At the time, this is the second highest Wednesday opening behind only, can you guess what movie? We've done it.
We've done it.
We've done it.
It opened on a Wednesday. I'm
This
gonna
might even this might not even be second highest Wednesday open. It might just be the second highest Wednesday, but I think it's an open.
gotcha. I'm gonna say Star Wars.
Yeah, you got it. Phantom Menace.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Because I remember when we were
Fan-
doing the Phantom Menace one, that one also opened on a Wednesday.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it wasn't open then. And yeah, Phantom Menace pulled in 28.5 million, so this is a pretty
Same, so
distant second. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And so then opening weekend, it opens for that weekend from the 20th to the 22nd with 50.8 million.
0.8. Okay, so that I definitely way lower than they wanted to, because if you looked at it, The Lost World, right now on our list here for all the episodes we've done, Jim, The Lost World still sitting at the top of the mountain for opening weekends right now with 72.1. So this is a pretty sharp decline right here. 50.8 is only good enough to put Jurassic Park 3 in the Sixth position behind The Grinch Stole Christmas, which opened to 55, and just ahead of Scary Movie, which opened to 42.
Yeah, so not the kind of company that this kind of movie is trying to be in, right? It's definitely aiming for higher than that. And you'll notice when we get up to the totals that it's also lagging pretty far behind The Lost World. But so yeah, it opens number one that week. It beats out in number three in its second week, Legally Blonde, pulls in 11.1 million.
Okay.
Do you want to take a guess at number two? It also opens this week. It's I'm gonna give you a hint. It is a Julia Roberts and Catherine Zeta-Jones rom-com.
Julia Roberts, Catherine Zeta-Jones. Oh, America's Sweethearts.
Yeah, you've seen that
Yeah,
movie before?
yeah, dude. That's
I
solid
didn't
rom
remember
com right
that at
there.
all. I had to look it up when I was
Yeah,
looking at this.
isn't it? Hugh Grant, I think too, is the dude.
I don't know. I watched the trailer. John Cusack was
John
in it,
Cusack, yeah, John Cusack's the other
and then
guy.
Billy Crystal I think was in it
Oh,
also.
Billy Crystal, that's who it is, not Hugh Grant.
Yeah. Yeah, so but that movie opens to 30.2 million. So
That's
Jurassic Park, it takes number one pretty handily for that opening.
for America's Sweethearts,
Um
30 million. Good for you guys.
yeah, a couple of quick hitters here. We'll do the 5 day. It
Okay.
finished with 81.4 million for its 5 day opening.
Damn,
Again, that comes in behind Phantom Menace, which pulled in 105.7.
gotcha. That sounds about right.
Yeah. All right. So couple other fun things from this opening weekend. It shares an opening weekend with two I don't know if you could say indie movies for both of these. I think one of them's made by MGM, but two kind of like cult movies.
Okay.
You ever see Ghost World?
No, but I've heard of it. It's like Christina Ricci, I want to say, I think is in it,
Yeah, and it's like I think
right?
it's like a really young Scarlett Johansson too.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
And
Scarlett
there
Johansson.
and then I can look it up. I'm pretty sure Steve Buscemi
Steve
is in it.
Buscemi's in it too, right? Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's
Okay.
yeah, so I don't know. That's an
I've never
interesting
seen
one. It
that one.
shares an I've never seen it either, but I know it's kind of like a cult classic kind
Yeah,
of
I've
a
I've
thing.
I've heard people talk
Like
about that.
that opened to 98,000.
Dear Lord.
Yeah.
Holt.
Uh and then this one I think you can pretty definitively call an indie movie, Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Never fucking heard of that. What?
It's you look it up. It's like I've never seen it either, but it's another cult movie. It's kind of like Rocky Horror or like Priscilla Queen of the Desert, I think. It's like that kind of a crowd.
It's that kind of a vibe. Okay. That makes
Yeah. And
definitely.
I'm pretty sure the Angry Inch is a reference to like somebody's cock. I'm pretty sure. I've never seen it, but I think that's what that's talking about.
Oh boy.
Uh that opened to 156,000.
Yeah, indie for sure.
Yeah. And so, all right, so that's Jurassic Park's opening weekend. Weekend number two, it is out of first place. We are not going on any kind of run here.
All right, so it's joining the plethora of other movies that sit with 1 week at number one. We're not even going to chart it because there's so many movies that literally have 1 week, but it just joins the league of like 11 other movies at this point that only had 1 week atop the crown.
Yeah, so I have a feeling that the movie that dethrones it is going to be our next episode, maybe.
I think it will be Jim because that was one of my notes here as well that I was going to chime into with the box office. I'm going to assume that the movie is Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes.
Yes, the Mark Wahlberg vehicle.
There we go. Absolutely. Yeah, that will be so spoiler alert. Yeah, that is our next you won't be able to guess later tonight because that is our next episode will be Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, I had a feeling. I had a feeling that when I saw this, that you had definitely seen it.
Okay, so
So yeah,
Planet of the Apes
I
kicks it
won't give
out.
us the opening weekend for that one, but it does take number one.
So we're gonna apply with that.
Uh,
Well, we know I'm already gonna say that I know it's big because my one note that I had here when I was looking up some interesting things about Jurassic Park 3 was that Jurassic Park 3, we talked in the X-Men episode about
uh-huh.
how Perfect Storm Scary Movie, and X-Men were the first time three consecutively released movies grossed over $40 million in their opening weekend. So
Oh, okay.
now this year we're doing Jurassic Park 3. Jurassic Park 3 kicks off a 4 weekend run where every new movie that opened over 45 million. So we had Jurassic Park 3, Planet of the Apes, and then Rush Hour 2 follows it up afterwards, and American Pie 2 after that. So now we're hitting a four. Last year for 2000, they had a 3 week run. This year we're having a 4 week run. So we're starting to see we're getting into that era of the box office that we know where every week a movie is coming out and is doing, these big blockbuster numbers.
Yeah, and I mean, right, like we are in the middle of July, right? So that's definitely the time of year for it.
Yes. Okay, so Planet of the Apes knocks it out.
Yeah, Planet of the Apes takes number one. Jurassic Park comes in at two with 22.5 million. That's a 55% drop. And it's gonna. There's another movie in here. It was on the first week, but I want to bring it up here because I'm looking at it. You ever see that movie, The Score?
With Robert De Niro and
Yeah,
Edward
Robert De
Norton.
Niro and Edward Norton. Yeah, where
Yes,
Edward
yes,
Norton is playing like a janitor, and that's all I'm gonna say.
yes. I have. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a movie. All right.
yeah. Okay. That's somebody was like, what if we made Primal Fear but went in a whole different direction? that's, uh, that's definitely a movie. That might be on my flicks you missed. I'm not sure. I got a list growing here.
That would be a good pick.
Yeah. All right, so that's the second weekend. And then I didn't take too much detailed stuff out of here, but we will go through its top 10 run. So week 3 it's in 4th with 12.2 million. Week 4 it's in 6th with 7.5. Week 5 it drops all the way to 9th with 4.4. And then finally week 6 it's in 12th out of the top 10 with 2.4 million.
Can get there. So it sits at 5 weeks in the top 10, which joins such classic movies like the Rugrats movie, Pokemon the first movie, and Scary Movie. So again,
Yeah.
just goes to show that Jurassic Park 3 completely inadequate in every way to the previous Jurassic Park movies because the Lost World Jurassic Park spent 8 weeks in the top 10.
Yeah, well, and there's one more big way to go as to where it's completely inadequate compared to the other two Jurassic Park movies. Because I got some totals.
All right, let's hear them.
Domestic, it finishes with 181.2 million.
Okay.
International, it pulls in 187.6 for
Mega
a
hit.
worldwide total of 368.8 million.
Oof. Yeah, that is not
Putting
good.
it far behind the Lost World's 618.6 and even further behind the original movie's 978.2.
Damn. Yeah, and our rankings here for the movies we've done, Lost World Jurassic Park sits in the third place spot with that huge total there of 618 million. Jurassic Park 3's paltry 368 puts it in the ninth spot now, just behind Castaway's 429 and just ahead of The Grinch's 345.
I have it. Box Office Mojo has it as a 90. What is it? 95, I think, $1 million budget.
And still got its
93.
return on investment probably at that point.
Right. So it's hard to call it a failure because they probably did make a profit on this.
Yeah,
But at the same time, it's like they weren't making this to make 350 million total. You know,
exactly.
they were definitely aiming higher than that. And so like you can't really call it a success either, right? And especially because we don't see another Jurassic Park movie for what, like 14 years after this?
I don't think Jurassic World came out till 2015, so
Yeah,
yeah, so a
2015 I'm pretty
while.
sure is right.
Yeah, well, also when your first movie is the highest grossing worldwide movie of all time when it comes out, anything short of that in your sequels is, at least on paper to them, is a disappointment.
Yeah, and I mean you're probably like not so disappointed with The Lost World getting close to 700 million, you know?
Yeah, that one's probably
You
not
are definitely really disappointed with this one.
Oh yeah, because this one is a sharp, sharp decline. But at the same time, they've got no one to blame but themselves because every moment of this movie is so wildly like what in the choices that they made for it that I there was no way for this movie to reach the highs of the original. So let's dive in, Jim. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on this movie. What worked for you? What didn't work? Let me hear it,
All right, so I really want to like this movie. I
dude.
really, really want to.
So do I.
And and as I'm sitting here watching it, I feel like they keep saying to me,
Gonna get you close, my friend, but not too close, eh?
They're just
because
bringing you right to the cusp.
yeah, right to the edge of being in, right? And that's something we say all the time. Like when we hit a point in a movie when we're just sold, like we're in, you know?
Yeah.
Um, they keep getting me right to where I'm almost in, and then they pull me right back out, right? So one thing I really like about this is like the beginning of the movie. We played that clip to intro the episode of Dr. Alan Grant, you know, basically slamming his fist on the table saying he's never going to that island, right? And then they're showing me he's desperate. He needs the money. You know what I mean? And they
Yeah.
like he's an interesting character in that early part because everything he's saying in that opening speech, he's lying to us, right? We know when they're actually flying over the island, he's excited to see those dinosaurs. He doesn't think they're fake. He thinks they're real dinosaurs, and really he's just afraid, right? So I'm like the first 10 minutes of this movie, and I clocked it at 15 minutes when they're actually on the plane going to the island.
Mm.
I'm so in for who Dr. Alan Grant is and where he is at this point in his life. You know what I mean? Like, and why he needs to go to this island. And I'm like, this could be a good movie. And then it completely 180s into just like none of that matters at all for the rest of the movie. And that's kind of my biggest problem with it is you know, we've gone over movies like Titanic and Gladiator, these movies that are like really the pinnacle that do such a good job of layering their theme like throughout the movie, and everything that we see ties back into it. And then there's movies like Jurassic Park 3 where they're just like, I don't know, man, we're just throwing everything at the wall and whatever maybe sticks we're okay with. You know what I mean? And that's I don't know, that's what I didn't like. Is it didn't feel cohesive enough for me.
That is my biggest sticking point too, because every time they do something that I enjoy, they have to do three other things that completely undermine that enjoyment. So like I'm with you right there that I love all the intro stuff with Alan Grant, and we're picking up with him in this world of his where he's convinced pretty much everyone but himself that like of the shit that he says he believes, but he doesn't actually believe. We know deep down he doesn't believe any of the shit he's trying to sell.
Yeah, he's the
But
dinosaur man.
yeah. And but
Of
then
course he
like
wants to see the dinosaurs.
yeah, what kills me is everywhere in this movie you can tell they don't give a shit about any type of reasoning. They just need excuses to get to the next scene. And that's
Yep.
what kills me for this movie because the whole movie is predicated on the fact that Alan Grant is desperate for this money, so he's going to take the job, no questions asked. But you're really going to sit there and tell me that this dude's sitting there telling you, I'm going to write you a blank check. What's the number it's going to take? And you're not even going to do any type of like sleuthing to be like, what's Kirby Enterprises? Like they just buys it hook, line, and sinker. And
Yeah.
then later you find out it's just like a paint and mortar store. And you're just like, bro, you didn't
Right.
like bother to do any research. Like this dude showed up to this island, tried to get you to go to an island you said you were never going to go to again. Just said, I'll write you a blank check. And you're like, fuck it, let's get on the plane. We're going. And the next scene, he's on the plane and we're going. No questions asked. Like it never thought
Yeah.
to take a single second to just ask any fucking questions whatsoever. And it's so nonsensical
Well, how
because even
about
when they're meeting and they're talking and he asks them like, what does Kirby Enterprises do? William H. Macy sounds like George Costanza when he's lying about being an architect. He's like, oh, you know, import, export, executive
yeah,
meetings. It's like, that's what? That's
exactly.
nothing. That's
It's like, dude,
literally nothing.
importing what? Like, what are you
What?
saying?
Just
And
like
then,
import,
like,
exports.
how about getting any of that money up front? If somebody writes me like a $15 million check, I'm gonna be like, all right, so can I get like 3 like right away? Just like so I
Or
can
do
see you
like
have
a
millions of dollars.
Yeah, like a half now, half later type deal. Like
Yeah.
everything, like it
Yeah.
just makes Alan Grant, who's such an interesting character, seem like such a fucking moron in that moment. Because
Well,
it's just
and
like
not
you want me to
only
believe that he's desperate enough to just be like, no questions asked. But I don't believe that Alan Grant would do that.
not only that, but he's got it, like it's such a cop out for him to decide to go just to fly over the island. Like you want to put the screws to your protagonist, to your main character. You want him to have to decide to step foot on that island for a specific goal, and he's there to do it. You know what I mean? If you trick your main character into act two, I just think it's taking a lot out of your movie that you probably don't want to be taken out. I don't know.
No, it's very
He
silly and
like
not in the way you want it to be silly. Like I can do silly if it works, but it's just it because a silly thing that works for me is just the way that this movie starts. Is just the fact that some Costa Ricans at like a resort island under the
yeah.
table let tourists pay money to go parasailing next to the island, which is the most insane shit I've already heard about. Like it's so nuts. They're,
Yeah, I mean it's hey, I bet you a lot of people would pay to do that to
absolutely.
parasail over an island with dinosaurs.
And that's a silly thing that works because that's a thing that I would totally picture like American tourists doing if that was a real thing. That people would be like, "Oh fuck yeah, bro! I'll give you like $100 under the table. Let's go see the island right now."
Yeah.
So that's a
Yeah,
silly
no,
thing
so
that works.
it's silly, yeah, and it does work. That guy in the beginning is so funny. And then
Like the
like
stepdad is like, "Nah." It's like, bro, what is that
yeah.
voice? Is that how you actually talk?
Yeah, and I mean, I could even see like that being part of the movie, but Alan Grant has to decide to go. That's my sticking point for that part of the movie. Is just like he can't halfway decide to go and then somebody drag him the other half. He needs to know what he's getting into, you know?
Yeah.
So if you wanna hire him to go rescue a kid and he says, "Okay, yeah, I'll take a bunch of money to go try and rescue a kid," then fine, but let him say that, you know? Don't like fool him into it.
Yeah, let
And
him own it.
then
I yeah.
I really think they pay for it later because this is another one where the middle of this movie is totally directionless. Like they're trying to get to the coast, but like nobody's really sure why. Because what's gonna happen when they get there? It's not like they have like a way out. You know what I mean? Like,
Thought like there's like a phone
um,
there that they're gonna call and be like, "Yo, bro, you come pick me up."
right. So they're just walking to the coast because I don't know. I guess that's where they think they should go. Maybe like so. There's nothing really like that they're striving toward other than to just be lost and deserted on an island somewhere else on the island, which doesn't really make sense to me, you know? Like I'm not really into it.
The ulterior motive of the movie really undermines it because in that same sense where we want Alan Grant to have that agency, it also makes the Kirby's look stupid because when they're on the island and they finally give the big reveal to Alan that like they tricked him there, Alan's like, I've never even been to this island. And it's like, really, Kirby's, you're telling me you motherfuckers
Yeah.
you didn't do any research either into that. Like, it's like, especially like if that thing happened in their universe, Jurassic Park, that's probably the biggest media and news event to ever happen ever in that world. And you're really going to tell me you motherfuckers didn't understand that distinction? Like,
Yeah, but I don't know, dude. He's too busy running his paint and tile store, man. He
tile
can't keep up
business.
with all the news.
I mean,
He read the book. What's he supposed to remember the names of all the
he
islands?
was savvy enough to find these like black ops guys like who are like blowing shit up in this abandoned
Yeah,
airport hangar. Like,
but what was up with that one Black Ops dude who I think it's like toward the end of the movie when they're just like, you're not really a Black Ops dude. And he's like, I know, I'm just an accountant. It's like, what? What is
it's like
happening?
what? Yeah, it's just like everyone is fake in this movie for zero reason.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he wanted the money. I don't know. That part was weird to me. I didn't really understand it, but I did remember it. I thought
it's
it
just,
was funny.
it's nonsense and not the good type of nonsense because it completely takes you out of the movie because I think one of the biggest pros that I can give to this movie is the three big set pieces are still really great and I
Yeah.
think are very entertaining. I'm talking about the Spinosaurus attacking their plane when it first comes down. I'm talking the aviary
Wait,
scene.
wait. Hold on, hold on. What was that first one? Was that the
Spinosaurus aegypticus.
Yes, the mumbo jumbo of the
Yeah,
Spinosaurus
whatever
aegypticus,
that means.
whatever that means, attacking them. The aviary scene with the pterodons, and then the boat scene on the river with the Spinosaurus. All three of
Yeah,
those
yeah.
scenes are very shot very well, have such great tension to it. And everything in between those scenes completely ruins the rest of this movie.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I do like those parts, right? When the dinosaurs are doing dinosaur things, I'm into it. They're I just wish there was like a little bit more to it, you know. And then the other part of this that I didn't like, there's a very noticeable lack of Steven Spielberg, you know, like
Yeah.
the Lost World has a very distinct tone, you know, like visually it has a really distinct look to it, and it's nothing at all how this movie looks. And like, I mean, of course, if they switch directors, the guy's not just gonna rip off, the vibe that Steven Spielberg was going for. But at the same time, it's just totally missing from the movie, though. You know, it doesn't. The island looked so much better in the second one than it does in this one. Where
Yeah.
in this one, it's just very generic. You know, there wasn't anything that really stuck out to me as unique to look at or interesting to look at. Whereas I felt like for the Lost World, that was 95% of why I was enjoying the movie. You know?
Like there's decided, like, even though there's big set pieces, none of it feels like that kind of awe-inspiring spectacle that you got out of the previous Jurassic Park movies.
Yeah, and I don't get me wrong, I did like those scenes you mentioned for sure.
Yeah. But it's again, they're great, but they're very hollow at the same time because you don't have anything there to fill it with to give it, any type of emotionality to it. Because like the scene looks great. The whole scene with the Spinosaurus on the river scene looks great. But outside of Alan Grant, I don't give a fuck if any of them die at all. And I love that this movie, they chocked this movie full of so many just hilarious cliches. Like they do the fake out Indiana Jones death with William H. Macy in that scene with the river where you think he
Yeah,
died and
yeah,
they're like, I'm not ready to be without you. And he's like, I'm not going anywhere. And he's like
yeah,
behind
so
them
bad.
somehow. It's like,
Yeah,
uh,
where did he go?
it's like, oh, okay. And then they do this cliche cracks me up because you still see it all the time. And it's the saved at the last minute by the person surviving on the place gimmick. So you have the scene in the Raptors where Alan Grant's about to get attacked by the Raptors, and then the kid who's been magically living on this place gets him and saves him at the last minute from death.
Oh
And
yeah,
you
right.
see
It's like
this,
the intro.
yeah, and they literally just did this. I've been watching Monarch Legacy of Monsters, the Godzilla TV show on Apple TV, and they
Oh,
did
okay.
the exact scene. They end up falling into a wormhole, which brings them to Kong's world. And when they get there, the girl who's been living on that island for like the past like ever saves the person. I was like, I literally just saw this. Like, it's hilarious how much they go to the well on that. Like, oh, we got this
Yeah,
mystical, magical place that somebody's been living on. They're gonna save them at the last minute from instant death. It's like, okay, sure.
yeah. I mean, it's a tried and true way to introduce you to that character.
It is. And I mean, it's funny because there are instances where that does work and it's great. Cause like I mentioned Monarch Legacy of Monsters, and I think in that moment it works great in that scene. Doesn't work so well in this one. And I think it could have worked if this movie was more well-rounded to make us care about these beats. I think it absolutely would have worked. But the fact that everything in this movie just feels so hollow because there is no core emotionality or any beat character to really latch onto to care about. It just undermines all of the cliches and moments that you see in this that make them feel like tropes.
I agree with what you're saying, but then I'm also thinking back to our Lost World episode where we were basically like, yeah, all that stuff isn't in this movie either, but we liked it, you know? So it's just like, I'm with you. And we talked about it in Titanic where really caring about the people is the way to make me care about the boat sinking, you know? Otherwise, it's just a bunch of people I don't care about and a boat sinking and I don't care, you know? But yeah, I don't know. It just like it failed on that level for me, but then it didn't pick up the slack the same way the Lost World is. I think that's the most concise way I could put it.
It's definitely one of those scenarios where you look at it and it shows that, sometimes the people behind the camera are the ones that make or break moments like that because you can have moments like that feel lacking in the Lost World, but it's picked up by Steven Spielberg's just fantastic ability to create, a living world within this microcosm of film. And it doesn't so work sometimes with other directors. Like when you see why the greats are the greats, because they can make even, lesser material sometimes elevated.
Yeah, and then I mean the other big difference between The Lost World and this movie, the ending is very different, right?
Well, what
Um
what ending in this movie?
well, The Lost World had that great big like San Diego big action
Yeah.
scene, like really long, like 15-20 minute sequence, and there's all kinds of twists and turns. And then this movie, they kind of just like the only really dramatic thing we need to tie up is, we have to make the deal with the raptors for their eggs, which is
Is the
still
funniest shit to be like, how are we going to end this movie? It's like, oh, like we're going to make a deal with the Raptors. Like we give them back the
yeah,
eggs and they're going to be cool. Like, but also like what cracks me up about that scene the most is that they make the deal. She's going to give back the eggs. The Raptors are all looking around, like trying to decide, like, are we going to fuck up these people or not? And then Alan pulls out the fake, like, trachea or whatever the hell it is, the
yeah.
vocal cord.
They 3D printed it.
Yeah. And he makes the sound and they all just start looking around like, yo, fuck, you hear that? Somebody's calling for help, and they run away. But then they also, in the beginning of the movie, talk about how smart the Raptors are and that if it wasn't for the comet that killed everybody, Raptors would have been the dominant species. So how did the Raptors not
Yeah,
look at Alan Grant and be like, bro, we see what you're doing, dude. Like, we know that's you. Like, we're not falling for that shit. Like,
yeah. Was that I didn't think it was that they thought they heard it off in the distance. I thought that they were just like looking around saying, "Oh my god, is he talking to us? What, can this guy speak raptor?"
well,
That's how
that
I
would
took it.
that would be the case if it wasn't for William H. Macy or one of the people being like, no, 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 call for help, do the help. And then he changes the vocal structure on it to call like for help
Yeah,
to make it seem
but
that like the Raptors are hearing help from somewhere else.
I thought he was asking them for help. I thought that's what they were trying to do.
But help for what? Help, don't kill me? Like what?
Yeah, right. I need help. I need your help to stay alive through encountering you. I
I
mean,
mean, like,
listen,
I guess,
he
but
knows like one word in Raptor. What do you want the guy to do? He's got to say something.
I think the funnier ending for that movie would have been if they get to the coast and they're going to get saved, and then Alan Grant stays behind to learn Raptor with the Raptors. Like they're like, no, 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 you can stay. I want to teach you what we
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, now that would have been an ending, right? If he becomes like the Jane Goodall of the
Yeah.
Raptors. Because then think about where he was in the beginning, think about where he is in the end. He's shown
See,
growth, you know?
now we
He's
yeah,
like
now we've got
grown
to.
as a human being.
He stays to be like Robinson Crusoe, like he's just gonna live on the island, like learning Raptor.
Yeah, and his next book, I'll tell you what, he'll like dinosaurs again.
He wrote it on papyrus that he found on the island.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's funny, dude. Yeah, but
Now we got an ending.
yeah. So like the ending, that when they make the trade with the Raptors, I do like that part. It's so silly and it's so funny. Um and then they get to the coast and it's like the movie like tries to pretend like there was a point to doing that the whole time. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
like it's like nobody knew why they had to get to the coast. They were just like, I don't know, that seems like a thing to do. And then they get there and they're literally saved instantly. It's like, oh my god, we made it to the coast, and guess what? The army's here.
We're just like free to go home again. It also cracks me up too. They make such a big deal about how it's a restricted no-fly zone and like everyone is trying to keep people out. Like the kid fell on the island and the US government's like, we're not going, like we're not helping you. Like, you're raising your hand like you got something. What are you gonna say?
Wait, it's what is it? Who said it was a no-fly zone?
The Costa Rican government said this is a no-fly zone.
Yes, thank you, Will.
The Costa Ricans.
The Costa Rican government said this was a no-fly zone. And so it's then hilarious that they're on a helicopter with the US government going back to clearly two huge naval warships that they've sent to get these two. And we see three like pterodons just flying, and everyone's just like, oh, see you later, guys. Like, where are they going?
Yeah.
They're just going wherever they go. Like,
Well,
what? They're not gonna shoot them out of the sky immediately?
you know why the army showed up, right?
Because of the dinosaur man.
Yeah, no, he calls Ellie, but they mention it in the beginning that she's dating
That
that guy,
the
or
guy
I
who
guess
works for
married
like
to.
the
He
Department
works
of
for the
Defense or
State
something, right?
Department.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
State Department.
He works for the
Yeah,
State Department. So
yeah.
stupid.
I get all that. Yeah, that's all just set up for that later.
Like,
But it's just
talk
insane to
about
me.
talk dude, it's so contrived. I don't even know why Laura Dern's in this movie, other than they're
Just for
like, all
that.
right, we got a great idea, Laura Dern. Like,
Yeah, it's
you're
insane.
gonna be in the beginning, and we're gonna drop a few things, and that's gonna miraculously save everything at the end.
Yeah, like why wouldn't they just have them be together and they go to the island together? Like, why keep her out of this movie?
I don't know. I bet you that she didn't really want to be in it, would be my guess. And
Maybe. All right, so
that like she had something else going on,
let me
and they
throw
just like were like, all right, we'll do like a little cameo.
maybe let me throw this at you. See if
Yeah.
this maybe would make us a little bit more invested. So the two of
Okay.
them are together. Maybe their relationship's a little strained right now because something happened to their like they had a kid, don't have a kid anymore. And now, as a way that they think to save their relationship that's like falling apart, they agree to go help this family go get this kid back from this island because they know they're the only two that could possibly stand a chance of navigating through these dinosaurs.
Yeah, I mean, there's at least like some emotional draw to it now, you know.
Right?
I
You got something there at least. And not anything spectacular, but at least it's something.
I'm thinking that there's going to be a noticeable lack of because there's no kid in it anymore, right? There's no little kid, who is probably my favorite part of this whole movie, by the way.
Laura Dern's random child with the State Department guy.
Yeah, he's great. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, like, yeah, it's better than what they did, I suppose, in terms of like a story. I don't
Then it
know.
makes
You
it
know
that
me.
much
I
more.
don't like to try and rewrite these too much.
I know. But then that makes it so much more impactful when he leaves Laura Dern behind to stay and learn Raptor with the Raptors.
Well, yeah, she'd have to stay with them, right? That's their
I don't
new
know
like
unless she lets him go.
they
Or they
replace what they've lost with these new raptor children. Like, that can like all right.
stay and
So
raise the rat.
they stay, and then the raptors are like, you know what? You keep the eggs.
They're like, these are the new pack leads.
Yeah. No, they just let him keep the 2 eggs that they stole, and they can raise those raptors now. Those are their
Oh
like
my! They're just like neighbors. They're like, howdy,
Yeah.
partner. Like, how you doing today?
Sam Neill's like gotta like sit on the eggs every morning.
Now we've got a
Dude.
movie, Jim. We've
Dude.
now
By
we've
the
got
way,
something.
how did that kid get that Tyrannosaurus Rex piss?
Yeah, dude, there's so many just one-off
That was
things in this
so
movie that
weird.
make no sense. Yeah, it's like, how did you get T-Rex pee? And he's like, you don't want to know. And that's literally the entire reason they formed it. It's because somebody thought it was funny, that bit where he's like, you don't want to know. And they're like, yeah, we got to do that.
Yeah, it's like, no, actually, I
What?
kind of do want to know. That's like
Yeah.
like insane. I've never heard of anything like that. Please tell
Right?
me how you did it.
It's like, dude, that's fucking absurd. I think my favorite thing about this movie is the fact that they do a Simpsons bit in it. And the Simpsons bit I'm
Okay.
referring to is there's an episode where Homer meets Mel Gibson and they remake Mr. George Goes to Washington because
Oh
there's not
yeah,
enough.
yeah.
And so there's a
And
bit
he
where
like
Homer,
don't they like spear a guy with the flag in the
yeah.
courtroom at the end
Yeah.
because it's like a big action movie?
yep. And there's a bit in it where Homer tells Mel the movie has to end with a close up of a dog looking back at the camera like evilly because there's always someone looking evil at the camera. And the dinosaurs in this movie do that so many fucking times. It's insane. Like
Yeah.
when they're first on the plane in the tree and Tia Leone looks out the window and the Spinosaurus is in the window and she goes, and they all turn around and the Spinosaurus disappears. It's like, what? Like, you're telling me it knew enough to just play a prank that like only Tia Leone is going to see the Spinosaurus? And then later, when the pterodons are killing Billy and Sam Neill and William H. Macy are standing there, there's the other pterodon that just slyly turns back to look at them at the camera with like an evil grin. And they're like, oh shit, we got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Like, it happens so many times in this movie. Like, the raptor waits behind the incubation tank for Taya Leone to get close enough to look at it for him to scare the shit out of her. Like,
Yeah.
the moves
Yeah.
that dinosaurs make in this movie only make sense if they know exactly what they're doing, and the fact that they're
Yeah.
like trying to scare these people before they kill them.
That's like the whole point of the movie though, is that isn't this the one where the raptors learn to like open doors and stuff? It's
Oh, they do that in the first one. They're opening doors
Oh,
and
is
shit.
that the first one? Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
no, so this
No,
is just the one where they learn how to
yeah,
speak.
in this one, the Raptors are basically just like mafia henchmen because
Yeah.
they talk so much about wanting to get their biology of how these dinosaurs would react like appropriately. But then you have a scene where, sure, okay, they learn how to set traps. But then once they're done setting the trap and they realize that guy's of no use to them, they just snap his neck and then run away. It's like, what? Like, they're not even going to eat him or anything? Like, you're telling me they know to
Yeah.
just murder this dude and then dip?
Yeah, dude, they're not the raptors aren't messing around in this
Like,
movie. They're not out for lunch, dude. They're trying to get their kids back.
they're just out for revenge.
Yeah.
Like, it makes it, the whole movie is just absolutely batshit absurd. And normally something like that would be a pro for us because I like when movies don't take themselves too seriously and can be silly like that. But this movie almost just cranks it too far in the other direction where I just can't get a beat on it.
Yeah, I mean, I still do like all those parts. So like those are definitely high up on the like list for me. Um and I do love like most of the silliness in this. And I like the kid too, by the way. The kid was good in this, I thought. I mean, some silliness aside, I thought it was cool that he was able to survive on the island for so long and that he was like way better at knowing about dinosaurs than everybody else. Cuz that really is such a little kid thing, like to know a lot about dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I definitely liked those parts. But yeah, I'm with you, man. Just at the end of the day, all they needed to do for me to love this was it could have been the most basic, non-interesting, story with an actual protagonist that learned something and at the end, and I would have liked this movie 100%. It wouldn't have even had to been like unique or good.
Same, because I wanted to like this movie and I just couldn't. And I was like, I remember some of the set pieces in this being good. So I was like, hopefully, like this just strings along from bit to scene. If it can just string itself along from set piece to set piece, like we'll be good. And then they just couldn't do that. And as I'm getting through each one, I'm like, my God, they're killing me. Like they're killing me. It's like
Yeah.
I can't even get to it. I can't. And it's a
Yeah,
shame.
and it wasn't good at the end. If they just even had a goal at the end of the movie, I would have been okay with
Yeah.
it.
Or
But
even
it
just
just
like
like
some form of a third act, for God's sakes.
yeah, it never made sense to me that they were just like, we got to get to the coast, and then it was just like, but why? I don't know. There's just we'll get there, and
Yeah.
then they get there, and then like it was just so
The
perfect.
government's
I
just
don't know.
there and it's just over. It just made it. They could have done something maybe with like the pterodon. Like they go back and they get back to the Navy boats, and then maybe there's like a big last set piece with like the pterodons or even the Spinosaurus, because you see in the river it's an aquatic animal. So what's stopping it from just getting in the water at the coast?
Yeah,
Because like that
yeah. No, I
they
mean
have the
like
flame and then the thing just disappears and then we're just done. It's like, hey, all right, I guess. Like,
yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I don't want to spend like too much time debating the logic of Jurassic Park 3. You know what I mean? But like, it's
it's a
just,
losing
yeah,
battle.
like, it's just an interesting thing how that's kind of where the conversation tends to go when there's not really any substance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, when there's nothing really to sink your teeth into, you end up having no choice but to focus on stuff like that, which, I don't know.
Which is a shame because the moments that work in this movie are solid, and I just wish it had itself a little bit more well-rounded to kind of help us like even out those pieces. But
Yeah.
is what
What
it
a,
is.
who do you think Billy was gonna sell those raptor eggs to?
Yeah, I don't know, dude. He was just like,
Right?
they probably go for. He's like, they'll probably go for like a lot of money. It's like, but
Yeah,
what, dude? Like,
it's like you gotta find somebody to sell it to, Billy. Like, I'm sure they're out there, but how are you gonna get in contact with
exactly.
them?
You're just like a student under him. Like you guys are gonna find black market dealers like to sell these eggs. Like you're not selling it to like any reputable person. The government will get you in a second.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure they exist. That's the thing. Like, that's kind of what the whole Jurassic World movies are about. But again, like Billy, what are you just gonna like post it on Craigslist that you got raptor eggs for sale? What are you doing?
Just photographing the nest.
Yeah, fucking Billy.
So also ridiculous that he somehow survived that at the end. Because what are you leaving me to believe that after like after we got off camera, the pterodons were just like, just let them go.
Yeah, I guess I don't know, but
Like
yeah, yeah,
I would
and
assume at
then
that point
like
the pterodons would drown the shit out of him and then eat him.
yeah, well that wasn't even like the ocean that they were in, right? It was just
It
like a
was a
big like
river.
lake in the river, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
So
river.
I don't know how did they even find him?
I don't know.
That's the part
Exactly,
that's
because it's
like
not like the government ever went into the island. They were just on the coast. So you telling me he just
yeah,
drifted downriver until he got to like the surf and like they just found him on like
yeah,
some rocks?
like
He's still alive.
it doesn't even need to make sense how they found him, but like if that guy is gonna be dead and then after the army just miraculously saves all of them at the last moment and then he's just on the helicopter, like dude, no way, you gotta show me him getting picked up, you know what I mean? Like
Something.
you can't. And there had to be something, it had to get cut, right? Because it's just too weird that he's just there.
It's too jarring. It's just such a jump. Like you're just like, oh yeah, he's just alive. It's like what? Why?
Yeah,
But also
yeah,
like,
and
what's the
then
reasoning for him to still be alive? Like I just don't understand
yeah,
what purpose
well,
it serves,
because
other than to let Alan off the hook for saying like you're
right,
no better than these
exactly.
people.
Right. God forbid anybody have any consequences for their
Yeah,
actions.
yeah,
Like,
right. Like, it's just
it's the
it's
last
absurd.
thing I said to him. Well, guess what, Alan? Not anymore.
Yeah, guess what, buddy?
He's alive on that helicopter
Yeah,
right there.
unpack all that drama weighing you down, Alan, because you're off the hook, baby.
Yeah. And then he makes the phone call with the satellite phone. It's just so lame, the ending, dude. That's the other thing. If it had, like, even remotely a goal at the end of the movie, I would have liked it a lot more.
Yeah, it's the fact that it just
It,
literally
it's
it
just
just
like, they just
ends.
kind of. Yeah, they and like they do make the call, but then they kind of just stumble into getting rescued, you know?
They're just like, pack it up, baby. We're good. We found the exact spot on the island that they would come out of after the Raptor exchange. On this huge island, we're on the exact spot of beach.
They gotta say though, I keep going back to the Raptor exchange. It's just too good.
It is great. She thinks you took the eggs.
They
Give
have
me,
like a
give me the
whole like
eggs.
they
I
have
do
like a
love that
whole
where Tia
Mexican
Leone,
standoff.
yeah, Tia Leone like finally gets the spine. She's just like, give me the eggs.
Give me the eggs.
So
Yeah.
absurd.
Oh man, that's really funny. And
Yeah.
then like the raptors like take their time to pick up the eggs. So I don't think they were going to help somebody else, dude. They could have easily killed all those people if they wanted to.
I don't.
They had him they had
Uh,
him all surrounded and they still had to get the eggs. They could have wiped them all out, picked up the eggs and then went to go help somebody else out.
who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. No, yeah, we just read it differently. It's interesting.
Yeah, I bet
Probably
Alan.
another sign that it's not super well made, that it's not clear.
I don't want to beat a horse to death too bad here. We've been really hammering in on this movie's unfocused nature. So, Jim, let's move on to our next lovely segment that we always love to do here, and that is let me get into that deep dive. All right, who do you got for me tonight? Who we doing?
So I'm I'm gonna start with a little quick hitter on Laura Dern. We talked about why she
Okay.
wasn't in this movie more. Let's take a look at some of her other 2001 movies that came out. Um, I don't recognize Novocaine.
Remember that?
I don't recognize Focus. Ooh, she was in I Am Sam in 2001.
Ooh, tough one, tough one.
That's an Oscar bait movie. That's a reason to
That's
turn down Jurassic Park 3 in my eyes.
it's right at the top of Oscar. I think Tropic Thunder said it best for that movie, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, yeah. And then Jurassic Park 3, obviously, and then some other movie, Daddy and Them. I don't know what the heck that is.
She dropped a lot of hits in 2001.
Yeah, she was a busy lady, right? So I have
Although
a
I guess
feeling that that's maybe why she's not in the whole of Jurassic Park
maybe.
3.
I mean, I guess I shouldn't say hits because I've heard of two of the movies, Jurassic Park and I Am Sam. So
Hey, she was
she was
working,
working.
right? She
She was
was
working.
working.
She was working.
But yeah, let's start with Sam Neill.
My man, Sam Neill. I think Sam Neill is an underrated actor. I wish he turned up in more stuff because he is very solid in everything I've seen him in. Like he's never put in a bad performance for me.
Yeah, what give me one that sticks out for you other than the Jurassic Park movies.
So I have two that stick out to me when I think of Sam Neill. The first is The Hunt for the Red October.
Okay.
He's a great side character in The Hunt for the Red October. And then the other movie I think of is this movie called Dead Calm. I don't know if you've ever seen this movie.
I don't
It's
think I
with
have.
so it's him, Nicole Kidman, and Billy Zane, baby. And
Oh,
Sam
Billy
Neill,
Zane, nice.
yeah. Oh, dude, it's great. And so Sam Neill and Nicole Kidman are a married couple that are just out on their boat one day and they come across another like a derelict boat. And in the derelict boat, they pick up Billy Zane, who is like shell shocked and like unresponsive to like whatever happened on this boat. And as they start to unravel the mystery of what happened on the boat, they start to fear that Billy Zane isn't who he says he is. It's
Oh
like a really
no.
good thriller. It's
What's it? It's called Dead Calm.
yeah,
Oh yeah, I see it. 1989. Yeah.
yeah, dude, top notch. I highly recommend you watch. You, I think you
All
would really
right.
like that movie.
Yeah, no, I'll give that a watch. Yeah, I'll find that somewhere because
Yeah,
that's a good one. That sounds good anyway. I definitely want to watch it. All right, so I got Sam Neill's up. I guess let's start Jurassic Park 3 or Dead Calm.
come on, like,
I mean,
no question.
look, we'll get an easy one out of the way. I'm just
Yeah, you're right. You're
setting
right.
up the
You're
bar
right.
here.
You're right. You're right. I
Uh,
see what you're doing.
all right. Uh, Jurassic Park 3 or The Hunt for the Red October.
Hunt for the Red October.
Yeah, that's an
It's a
easy one. I'll
classic.
take The Hunt for the Red October. All right, let me see if I recognize any of these other names. He's got a really long filmography, dude.
He was always working, but a lot of the stuff was not like huge
Yeah.
worldwide like movies.
Yeah, he's got 153 acting credits on here, so
Good
we're
for
probably
him.
not going to hit all of those.
No, I'd say there's probably only a handful of them that we would even recognize.
Yeah, maybe let's start here and work our way backwards because I feel
Okay,
like there's a better chance we'll know a lot of
you're
these
gonna
that
start
way.
newer, is what you're saying.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so Jurassic Park 3 or Jurassic World Dominion?
It's sad that that's like a tough one.
Yeah, it's close, right?
Yeah, it's almost too close to call. Jurassic Park. Oh my God. Dominion. I'm gonna give it to Dominion.
I didn't see Dominion either, so I'm gonna defer to you on that one.
I'm gonna give it Dominion is also not great, but I think I gotta give it to Dominion.
Okay. Jurassic Park 3 or Peter Rabbit?
Oh, dude, Peter Rabbit's who do you play in Peter Rabbit? You do a voice of the
He's
character?
he's credited here as old Mr. McGregor.
Oh, he's the dude he's the guy who owned the house who died before like
Right, before
Brendan
Domhnall
Gleeson.
Gleeson.
Oh, Dom Hall. I'm thinking of his dad. Yeah, before Dom Hall Gleason comes in. Dude, what a delightful Peter Rabbit, dude. Peter Rabbit.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Peter Rabbit.
That
It's not
movie,
even close.
that movie's
Peter
so
Rabbit's an
good.
awesome movie.
Yeah,
If
people
you
at
haven't seen
home,
Peter Rabbit, go watch it.
if you haven't seen Peter Rabbit, watch that movie immediately.
This is more of a cameo, so I'm just bringing this one up to highlight that he had this cameo.
That
Jurassic Park 3 or Thor Ragnarok?
Oh yeah, he does like he's like one of the thespians for like the play
Yeah,
or the
he plays Odin in the play where
Odin.
Matt
Yeah,
Damon plays Loki.
the Ragnarok.
Yeah, Ragnarok. I'll take Thor Ragnarok. All right, did you ever see Peter Rabbit 2?
Yes, I did.
All right, Jurassic Park 3 or Peter Rabbit 2? I haven't seen that one.
Peter Rabbit too. Also delightful.
Dude, it's amazing how many credits this guy has. And he just like, I just don't know like 90% of them, dude. Um, I'm trying to see. Oh, okay. Jurassic Park 3 or Escape Plan.
He was in Escape Plan. That's the one with Sylvester
That's
Stallone
what he
and
said.
Arnold
Yes, the one
Schwarzenegger,
with
right?
Sylvester Stallone. Which, by the way, if you have I think it was Netflix. If you have Netflix, they just released the 2 sequels to Escape Plan this
All
past
right,
week.
all right. Doesn't one of them have
I
Dave
watched
Bautista?
both of them have Dave
Oh,
Bautista.
all
Actually,
right. You know what?
I watched
That might get me.
I watched both of them this past weekend. They were something.
That might convince me.
But yeah, so
Escape Plan.
I'll take Escape Plan
I would
too.
take
And then
Escape
I'm
Plan.
trying to see who was Sam Neill. He's credited as Dr. Kyrie, if that means anything to you.
I guess maybe he was like the doctor in the prison.
I guess, yeah. I haven't seen that movie like probably
Neither
since
have
it
I.
came out in
Yeah,
theaters.
when we saw it
And
in theaters, I think was the only time I saw it.
I can tell you what, he wasn't in either of the sequels that I just watched this past weekend. So
Ah, what a shame.
yeah. All right. I'm like running out of movies here, dude. Do you want to like pull his up and see if I'm missing anything like really big? Oh, okay.
Sounds like
Uh, Jur- Jurassic Park 3 or Wimbledon?
I've never seen Wimbledon.
You've never seen Wimbledon? I'll take
No,
Wimbledon.
that's
You should go watch
the
Wimbledon.
tennis movie, right? With
Yeah, the
Kirsten
one with
Dunst,
yeah, and Paul
Paul
Bettany.
Bettany. Yeah.
Yep.
I always wanted to watch that, but I never got around to it.
All right, I think we're about tapped on Sam
Sam
Neill.
Neill. Okay, who else we doing? Who else you got?
Let's do the
Doing
director of Jurassic Park 3.
Mr. Joe Johnston.
Yeah, good old Joe Johnston.
He's had a very varied career in the 80s and
I
90s.
I'm pretty sure he's got some better credits than this, if I remember correctly. If it's the guy I'm thinking of.
Yeah, he's another one that's done some surprising movies that you wouldn't think. If I'm
More
remembering correctly.
more that we've probably heard of is where I'm leading.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's some good ones on here, dude. Okay.
Okay.
And this is a tricky one because you're just gonna pick the other movie every time, from what I can see. But okay, Jurassic Park 3 or Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
But dude, talking about a bona fide classic right there. Honey, I Shrunk the
Bonafide
Kids.
classic.
Bona fide
Yep.
classic.
All
Talk
right, so
about
this is
such a unique, silly premise, but that just fires perfectly.
all right. So I'm gonna take out a couple of things here.
Okay.
There's a couple of TV like Indiana Jones things that I'm not gonna count. Right, he directs like one episode.
Of like the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Yeah, yeah, and then he does the live action sequences for that movie, The Page Master. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, dude, that's a
Yeah,
childhood classic right there.
but so let's take those out because The Page Master, he's just doing live action sequences. The other two things are TV.
I-
These are Joe Johnston's first 3 movies, right? We said Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. 1991, we get The Rocketeer.
Ooh, classic.
Heavy,
Rocketeer.
dude, heavy hitter. And then 1995, we've got do you take Jurassic Park 3 or do you take Joe Johnston's 1995 hit Jumanji?
Oh, dude.
Right?
Jumanji.
That's
Jumanji.
his first 3 movies, not counting that other stuff we talked about. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, The Rocketeer, and then Jumanji.
So the world was his oyster at that point.
Yeah,
He's
coming out of the gate, dude.
Yeah.
He's not messing around. Okay, so follows it up with, do you take Jurassic Park 3 or October Sky?
Cobra Sky. That's a good movie.
Yeah, that's a really good
That's a
movie.
really good movie.
Like
Laura Dern.
early Jake Gyllenhaal, right?
Yeah, Laura Dern's in that, I think. Right? Doesn't she play his
Oh,
mom?
really? Yeah, maybe. I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah, I also haven't seen it
Yeah,
in a while.
she's
But
definitely
some.
got a top credit. Yeah,
Woohoo! Good for you, Laura Dern.
yeah. Then he makes Jurassic Park 3.
Oof, poor guy.
After that, do you take Jurassic Park 3 or the Viggo Mortensen vehicle Hidalgo?
I haven't seen Hidalgo. I think I saw that movie once,
Yeah.
and I really want.
I
I want to say Jurassic Park 3.
I want to say Hidalgo, but I have a sneaking suspicion that that movie doesn't really hold up.
Same, dude. Same. I'm in that same boat right now. So I guess since we've seen it fresher, Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah, I'm
And
gonna take Hidalgo.
I didn't see Hidalgo in theaters, so we won't be touching on that one.
Yeah,
So
I'm
that
gonna
might
take Hidalgo, but I might
okay.
rewatch and get back to you and let you know if I change my mind.
Well, once we get into the 2004, we're gonna be hard pressed to find movies that we didn't see in theaters. So that might be a solid flick you missed.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that list is growing, and we've got. I think this is what episode 15.
Sure, that sounds right.
So we've got like 3 or 4 more left before I really have to choose. But yeah, we've talked about a few. That list is definitely growing.
But that one's for a later flick you missed, not until we're in the 2004.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's probably not until
Yeah.
like the next batch. We're still in 2001. We're getting
So in
way ahead of
2001.
ourselves.
Yeah, so that's way ahead. But that's just something that maybe possibly that one could be one we do here on the pod. Possibly.
Yeah. All right. I don't know this next one. Does the Wolfman mean anything to you?
Yeah, the one with Benicio del Toro and Anthony Hopkins.
They're definitely on the poster. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
definitely.
the
I've never
Wolfman.
seen that. All right. So you're
Um,
taking that or Jurassic Park 3?
that's another one that I watched once, so I don't really have a good frame of mind to decide. But I think I'll take the Wolfman. From what I
All right.
remember enjoying that movie, so I'll take the Wolfman. Pretty sure Emily
All
Blunt's in
right.
that too.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
is
so
also, yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
that gets the edge absolutely.
That's a pretty all-star cast. I'm gonna have to check that out just on
Yeah, it's
those
solid.
names
I'm
alone.
pretty sure Hugo Weaving's in it also.
That is beyond the poster's ability to tell me. So, I mean, actually, wait, that might be him in the background. Hold on, I'm gonna
I
click
think
on
he
it.
is. I think he's in the back.
Yeah, he's on there.
Yeah.
He's on there. You're right. He's like right in the middle, but like kind of far back than everybody else. Okay. All right,
This
just a
guy's
couple
got
more
a
here.
varied career there.
Uh,
Yeah, what else we
yeah, and
got?
it's a good career too. I'm pretty astonished at like the range that it's showing, and still, man, those first 3 or 4 movies, that's like a real
The cement status right there.
that's a real run. That's like a real he's making some solid movies like every time he's up to bat for a while, you know?
Mm.
But all right, so I got a couple more here. I got Jurassic Park 3 or Captain America: The First Avenger.
Oh, dude, he did that one.
He sure did.
I picked that one. That on it. So we will get to that one way, 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 way down the line. But spoiler alert, that is one of my favorite superhero movies.
Interesting. I think that tracks.
Uh,
That would be one of your favorite. That's like the least like spandexy of them.
Yeah. And I love it's just a very pulpy action adventure that really just falls into my wheelhouse. That's one of my more enjoyable ones of, those superhero movies that I normally can't stand. But I mean the Captain
Totally.
America movies in general were always the I felt the bread and butter of the MCU at least.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like Winter Soldier so much, but Civil War is definitely is probably my favorite Marvel movie.
Wow, so yeah, so I didn't realize
Um,
he did that one. Good on him, man. Yeah, he's got
he
some.
did. So this guy's no joke, right?
Yeah,
For a
dude.
name that I don't know a lot of people have really heard of. I mean, I've like heard of him before. I hadn't really thought about his filmography, but
He
he's not somebody
loves
that comes up a lot when you hear people talk about great directors. And I don't know. I think he's
yeah,
pretty good, man.
he's pretty solid. Yeah, he's what I'm seeing here is that this man is a dependable director.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. But I mean,
yeah,
like more than dependable. A lot of these are like really classic
yeah.
movies.
Dude, he loves working with Hugo Weaving.
Like I'm pretty sure if you put a movie like Snipe from the theaters in front of me that at least 4 or 5 of his movies will be on it. Like, you know
Yeah,
what I
for sure.
mean? Like those like The Rocketeer, Honey I Shrunk the Kids, Jumanji. Those are like really like memorable ones too.
For sure. A pretty stellar filmography there for him. You got one or two stumbles in there, but even those, still nothing outright unwatchable.
Yeah. And I mean this movie's definitely one of the stumbles, and I don't know, it just does this movie feel like the kind of thing that it's one of those movies that we've talked about before where it's greenlit before there's a script and all they really know is they just want to make another Jurassic Park movie
Absolutely. For sure.
and they just hobble together like whatever they can in the time they're allowed,
Yeah.
and who knows how it all works out. You know what I mean?
This is a movie that reeks of we got a date set, we got to make a Jurassic Park movie, figure it out, and they're just on the fly making it work.
Yeah, because
Reeks of it.
yeah, you mentioned the writers before too. There's like a lot of talented people making this movie, and it just I
Yeah,
don't know how we ended up with what we ended up with.
yeah,
It
it's
just doesn't make
crazy.
sense to me.
This doesn't make any sense. But all right, Jim, we're up to, as always, your favorite part, a new era of Jim ratings here, because Jim has completely let go of the weight that was surrounding him. If you were around for our previous week's episode, Jim is a whole new man now when it comes out to giving what is now our favorite portion of the night, and that is our film ratings.
I'm Roger Ebert. Been a scene from the best film of the decade. This is a great film.
Thank you, Raj. We are about to find out if this was indeed a great film. So, all right, Jim, let's hear it. New mantra, Jim. What does he give Jurassic Park 3?
All right, so I talked a lot about the new mantra last week.
He's like, and I'm about to renege on everything I
Yeah,
said.
I'm not necessarily taking it all back. I'm just maybe pumping the brakes teeny bit, like just to say that not every movie is gonna be a Doctor Dolittle 2, and it's not gonna strike my fancy the same way that movie did last week. So yeah, I don't know. I had a lot more bad to say about this movie than good. So even with all its wackiness and funniness and things that I did like, I'm gonna give it a 2. No, actually, you know what? I'm gonna give it a 1.5.
1.5?
Yeah,
All right,
1.5.
a
Pretty
1.5 from
low.
Jim. That might be one of your lowest rankings so
I
far.
I think it's my lowest ranking so
I
far. I've
think
been afraid to go below
think it
2.
is
That's how we
no,
got into this
no,
mess
no,
in the
no. You
first place.
tied. You also gave The Perfect Storm a 1.5.
Oh yeah, okay. And I kind of want to give this higher now. All right, 1.5. I'm sticking with
1.5.
1.5.
Sticking with it. Stick with it. 1.5.
Yeah, sticking with it.
To your credit, I also agree that not everything can be a Dr. Dolittle 2. In this movie, way too many dinosaurs, not enough Bart the Bear. So
Oh yeah.
I'm also in the camp with you. We decried a lot of stuff about this movie, and the things that work for me with this movie, the set pieces and some of the silliness, aren't enough to outweigh a lot of the things that drag for this movie. And basically, when you're coming down to it, what you want out of this movie, it disappointed. It didn't give me what I wanted or expected out of this movie. So for me, I'm gonna give this one 2 stars.
So I
So
think that ties it with The Perfect Storm, right?
yeah, so Jim, this might be the moment what you lived for, because with your 1.5 and my 2, that gives Jurassic Park 3 a 3.5, which ties it with The Perfect Storm for the lowest spot, right behind the Rugrats movie, which got a 4.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that the 4 is right for Rugrats, but I feel pretty good about the score that we gave this movie. It wasn't very good, and like I had some fun with it, but for the most part, it was very disjointed and not so meaningful. So
I agree. So now the
I think
question
we fell in the right
is,
place.
yeah, now the question is we have both of these movies now tied for 3.5. So which one do
Yeah.
you pick? Perfect Storm or Jurassic Park?
Oh man. I really hated The Perfect Storm.
I know you did.
I'm putting that below, dude. That's my bottom.
I agree. I would pick JP3 over Perfect Storm also.
Yeah,
So
if only because even though I don't think John Williams did any work on this movie, his music is still boss, and a lot of his music is still in it. So I give it the edge there, where the music and the sound was doing a lot of good work, whereas I hated the music in Perfect Storm, like hated it.
It's fair. I can go with that too. Yeah, John Williams did not do the score for this, but they did reuse a lot of his, motifs and theme music, obviously. So that does help give that movie the edge. So there we go. Jurassic Park 3 sits right ahead of The Perfect Storm and just behind the Rugrats movie. And I think I can live with that. I got no problems with that one.
Yeah, I mean it's not ideal, but I've come to accept it. I can't, if we're gonna get through 1,000 movies, we're just gonna have to embrace the fact that they're not gonna all be in perfect order by the end.
Very true, very true. But for where we're standing in the moment that we're doing them, I think this is a solid spot for Jurassic Park 3. But now we turn our attention to next week. There is no hint for you, Jim, because obviously we talked about it already.
Yeah,
We're going into Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes, a movie that we've mentioned a few times in this podcast. Like this,
yeah,
this movie has been built up for a while now because we've come across it a few times in our box office discussion, our discussion of Mark Wahlberg, of just movies in general. And now we're finally here, and this movie has a lot to live up to for us. I haven't seen this movie since I saw it in theaters. So not only is this a real fresh rewatch for me, but I feel like we've hyped it up for us so much at this point that I'm expecting big silly things from this movie.
yeah. I mean, I will say, this is another one that I definitely saw in theaters with my dad. Um, and I really hated it. Like, really hated it at the time. I was like a big fan of the Charlton Heston one, so I'm interested to go back and watch this with some fresh eyes and some the distance that 20 years adds. And yeah, I'm interested to see if I like it.
It's insane that that movie is now like 20, was it 22, 20, 23 years old? 24. No, 23. I can't
Yeah,
do
because it
math.
would
I
have been
can't do math in my head.
well, it's like 23 and a half,
I
I think,
can't
or
do
22 and a half.
math.
Yeah, no, 23. Dude, it's 23 and a half because it's 2001 to 2024, but we're not quite to July yet. I can do this.
That's yeah. We got there in the end.
Yeah.
My God, the time just flies. So yes, that will be a fun movie for us to dive into. So make sure you come and check back with us next week where we dive into all of the absolute silliness that is Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes movie. Jim, I turn to you as always for some important words of wisdom to leave the people with. Do you have anything for the people this week?
It's all I've got time for.
All right, so let me hear what you got then. If it's all you got time for, what do you got?
Hold on. Let's see. Do I have anything good? I want you guys to all think about whatever this means.
Spinosaurus aegypticus.
Just like, what does that mean? I don't know. It doesn't mean anything, right? I don't know.
Listen, it really brought me into the scene. I totally understood what they were going for with that mumbo jumbo. But that will do it for all of the Jurassic Park 3 mumbo jumbo in this episode. We will see you next week as always. And until next time, we'll see you at the movies.